Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. TJ Watt's contract structure has now been revealed, and it makes his deal, in my opinion, that much better. We'll talk about that at the top of today's show. Then we'll get into a Steelers insider that thinks that the Pittsburgh Steelers could sign a safety before the start of Steelers training camp next week. But before we get into the content today, guys, get down there in the comments section and let me know. Should the Pittsburgh Steelers make another roster move now that they have TJ Watt locked up for the long term? And if so, what move would you like to make? Would you like to trade for Juwan Jennings? Would you like to sign a safety? Would you like to sign another receiver? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section to kick off today's show. So we did get word yesterday that TJ Watt is getting a massive record-setting contract extension, a 3-year contract extension that will keep him in Pittsburgh for the next 4 years, or at least under contract for the next 4 years. $123 million guaranteed is what is included on that contract extension, with $108 million of that being fully guaranteed at signing. And you guys can take a look at the upcoming cap hits. We got a look at the structure of this contract this morning. And this year's cap hit is actually going to be less for TJ Watt after the deal than it was before the cap hit, or before the deal got done. Before this deal got done yesterday, the cap hit was over $30 million. That is now being reduced to $23.3 and change million. It's going to be $42 million over the next 2 seasons after this year, and then it's going to go up to a little bit over $46 million in 2028. This contract includes $41 million per season, which of course makes him the highest paid edge rusher and non-quarterback in National Football League history. So congratulations to TJ Watt on his family for yet another historic payday. And then you take a look at the cash flow here for this season in terms of the cash that TJ Watt is going to be bringing in this year alone. He had a $40 million signing bonus, all right, so $44 million total for this season, and that adds almost $23 million in new cash spending on the Steelers' books for the 2025 season. And I have a couple takeaways based on the structure that we got word from this morning, guys. My first takeaway is that this saves the Steelers actually $7 million against their 2025 cap, so they actually save cap room with this extension, and it brings their total in terms of total cap space this year to over $30 million, up to $32 and change million per Spotrac right now. The Steelers are currently in the top 8 of teams in current cap space for the 2025 season, despite all the big moves that they have made so far this year. The second takeaway that I have from this deal and this structure is that the almost $23 million that TJ Watt is getting in new cash earnings this year allows the Pittsburgh Steelers to eclipse that 89% salary cap spending floor that the NFL requires from their teams every single year. And that's good news if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, because that means the Pittsburgh Steelers, whatever that 32 or whatever $1 million in cap space that they have left at the end of the season this year, it rolls over to be used in 2026. So it gives the Steelers even more cap room in 2026 to make moves in free agency, to make moves via trade, and continue to build this roster year in and year out. And then my third takeaway from the structure of this contract is that the Steelers can realistically get out of this contract after 3 more seasons. Now, it pretty much locks in TJ to be a member of this team for the next 3 years, all right? So this year, 2025, 2026, and then 2027. But his final year of this new deal, 2028, it's actually somewhat feasible for the Steelers to get out of this contract if they so choose. A lot of the guaranteed money is in the first 3 years of this deal. So you guys can see the dead cap hits if he is cut by the Steelers in these 3 seasons. It's just a $10 million cap hit in 2028, and by that point, the NFL cap number is going to be ballooning every single season, so that's not going to be that much of a big deal if the Steelers end up cutting Watt at the end of those 3 years here in Pittsburgh. And the reasons why I'm cool with paying TJ Watt, guys, and we've covered these reasons extensively on this channel over the last few weeks. Number one, Pittsburgh, I don't believe, can compete for a Super Bowl without Watt. You may believe at home that the Steelers can't compete for a Super Bowl even with Watt, but they definitely can't do it without Watt. The Steelers are trying to win a Super Bowl this season, and next season they're trying to win in the short term, and you can't do that without Watt on the roster. roster. And then number two, Pittsburgh isn't going to be paying a quarterback a large contract for quite a while. Aaron Rodgers' cap hit is just about $15 million this year. And then next year, you can almost guarantee the Steelers are going to be taking a rookie quarterback in the first round of the NFL draft, where you get 5 years at least of cost-controlled, cheap quarterback play. So throughout this entire Watt contract, you're going to have cheap quarterback play, so you might as well pay your most impactful defensive player. And then also, something that's also very promising is that TJ Watt is looking absolutely ripped heading into this season, guys. It looks like, based on some recently released photos that he put on his social media with teammate Nick Herbig. They were training together in Wisconsin before the start of training camp here next week. But TJ Watt looks like he has added a significant amount of upper body muscle, indicating that he might be incorporating more power into his game in years to come, with the potential for some regression in his first step of explosiveness and athleticism. TJ's been a speed rusher throughout his career. He's really relied on that first step explosiveness, his bend, to be able to be the foundation of his game. But as he gets older, I think power is going to be a bigger element that he's going to have to implement into his game, and the gains that he has made this offseason certainly indicate that he agrees with that. And then, of course, the local idiot, Colin Cowherd, didn't like the deal. He criticizes every single move that the Pittsburgh Steelers make at this point, but this is what Colin had to say about this deal. I don't question the player, I question the direction of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not the talent of TJ Watt, it's how they prioritize defense. And frankly, their defense isn't that good. 4 straight years, it's been out of the top 10 in total defense. The Steelers need a more balanced football diet. The league went into protein offense, and the Steelers are all carbs defense. So listen, guys, you guys know that I'm not the biggest fan of Colin Cowherd. I don't think he knows ball, but this might surprise you, but I actually don't think he's entirely wrong with this take. You guys have heard me say one of my biggest criticisms of Mike Tomlin and his team-building philosophy is, yes, he does prioritize defense over offensive spending. Now, I also think it's a weird take that Colin, blasts the Steelers from actually spending money on offense this year with a guy like DK Metcalf, but I do like some of the moves and cheaper moves the Steelers made that will hopefully make the Steelers' offense better here. But even though I do agree with Colin that, generally speaking, in an offensive league, you want your money to be towards the offensive side of the ball, not the defensive side of the ball. The Steelers are trying to win now, and all their best players are on the defensive side of the ball. So it makes sense to retain your good players on defense, try to have an elite unit, try to be able to be among the league's best on that side of the ball. And then some of the cheaper moves that you made on the offensive side of the ball, bringing in Aaron Rodgers, etc. But they also added a couple players here in Jonnu Smith and DK Metcalf. It's not like they didn't spend money on offense this year. I think that's part of the fault in Colin's thinking here. But I do think that with the win now approach that the Steelers are going down here, I think this offseason they did a pretty good job at setting this team up for success and giving themselves the best chance to compete for a championship here in 2025. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. Did Pittsburgh make the right call by paying TJ Watt a massive contract for a second time? Give me a yes or no down there in the comment section. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Mando. Well, I'm telling you about Mando today. Simply give me a yes or no down there in the comment section. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Mando Whole Body Deodorant. And guys, summer is coming in hot, literally, and it's really about to get hot out there in Latrobe at Steelers training camp. And this year, I'm trusting Mando Whole Body Deodorant to keep my pits fresh and dry on my yearly training camp trip to Pittsburgh. Mando's entire line of products are clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours, and are also baking soda free, paraben free, and come in a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. For me, guys, I like using their deodorant and their body wash. It's absolutely fantastic, and my favorite product from this line is the bourbon leather. That's my favorite scent. I use it every single day. I brought my own stick to work today just to show you guys that I actually do use this product. I also use their body wash at home in the shower. Keeps me smelling fresh for up to 72 hours. It's absolutely fantastic. And if you guys want to try out their products today, Mando's starter pack is perfect for you, and it's perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick of deodorant, deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash, which I highly recommend, by the way. And they also have very highly recommended deodorant wipes as well. Plus, you get free shipping, so there's no reason not to try out my favorite deodorant brand today. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. That just use code CHAT at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide, plus you get free shipping. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Mando's got you covered from head to toe. Protect your pits and smell great doing it with our friends at Mando Whole Body Deodorant today. So now Steelers insider Mark Kaboly, he works for the Pat McAfee Show as their Steelers correspondent, says that the Pittsburgh Steelers might add another safety before the start of training camp, or at least before the season this year. This is what Kaboly had to say. I would think that safety is number one on the Steelers' list. I'm not saying I'm not a Juan Thornhill believer, but they base their whole organization on having competition. And where's the competition at for a guy that nobody wanted last year who had a bad season for the Cleveland Browns? Now listen, man, Kaboly does have a point in the fact that the safety room is pretty light after letting go of Minkah Fitzpatrick, okay? Right now I would expect Juan Thornhill to be that starting free safety when you're in your nickel packages. Deshaun Elliott will be your strong safety. But then when you go to your more base alignments there where you only have 2 corners on the field, I do expect the Steelers to still keep Darius Slay and Joey Porter Jr. on the field, which would mean that Jalen Ramsey would be your box player, your strong safety type, with Deshaun Elliott being your free safety in those base package looks. And then after that, there's not much. You got Miles Killebrew, a UDFA, and Sebastian Castro, and then Quindle Johnson to round out the group right now in Pittsburgh. But it definitely seems like the Steelers are believers in Juan Thornhill. They like his game. They believe that he is fundamentally sound. And, he's nothing special, but he is somebody that can contribute to a championship defense, or at least that is what the Pittsburgh Steelers feel heading into the year. The last 4 years for Thornhill, the last 2 specifically, he's dealt with injuries in his calves there in Cleveland, and because of that, hasn't looked great on the field, and he's had some issues staying on the field, so that's a concern heading into his Steelers tenure. But 2022, man, 3 interceptions and 9 PBUs and a really good season for the Kansas City Chiefs. You can also take a look at his career PFF grades here, where the last 2 years hasn't been great, obviously, because he's been playing through some of those calf injury issues. But then 2022, a 72.7 grade that ranked in the top 20 among safeties that year. And he is a Super Bowl champion with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think a lot of people forget that Thornhill was a starting free safety for a Super Bowl champion defense. Now, obviously, he wasn't the star of that defense, right? Chris Jones and Trent McDuffie, among others, were kind of the big names on that defense. But Thornhill proved that in a good defensive structure, he's a very sound tackler. He's good enough in coverage. He's got a pretty good physical skill set when he is healthy and not dealing with those calf injuries that he was dealing with in Cleveland. And what I heard about Thornhill at Steelers minicamp, he wasn't there during the voluntary portion of OTAs, but he was there during mandatory minicamp. Apparently, this guy was flying around, and it was part of the reason why the Steelers feel comfortable and felt comfortable letting go of Minkah Fitzpatrick in that trade for Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. I would also say don't sleep on Sebastian Castro. Now, he's not a true free safety type. I don't think he has the speed to play true free safety, but he played both strong safety and a nickel cornerback at Iowa, and he played it really, really well. I think that he's got a chance to really impress some people at Steelers training camp. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on Sebastian Castro when I'm making my trip to Latrobe next week to Steelers training camp, because he's got an opportunity here with a very light safety room to make this roster, and he's got an opportunity to really make a name for himself this year if the Steelers don't make a move in free agency. And, I will say this as well, guys, free safety, if I have to pick one position on the Steelers defense that is probably the least important, I think that the role that is least important on this defense is probably free safety on the Steelers defense. Because remember, guys, this is gonna be a really good pass rush with T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, Cam Hayward, Keanu Benton, Derek Harmon, one of the best pass rushes in the league, paired with one of the best cornerback rooms in the league as well, with Joey Porter Jr., Darius Slay, and Jalen Ramsey. Plus, you got Deshaun Elliott at the other safety spot. So if your weakest link is a very solid starting free safety like Juan Thornhill, I think that the Steelers could do a lot worse than that. And honestly, I'm excited to see what Juan Thornhill can do as this team's free safety this year if they don't make a move. So what are you doing? Let me know down there in the comments section. Are you sticking with Juan Thornhill, or are you signing a free agent? Honestly, guys, I wouldn't mind if the Steelers ended up bringing in a free agent like a Julian Blackmon, or maybe a Justin Simmons or somebody like that, or Quandre Diggs. But I also wouldn't mind if they stuck with Thornhill. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. JT for Thornhill, or FA for free agency. And then, whatever Pittsburgh decides, like I said, guys, I'm cool with it. If they want to bring in a free agent, if they want to, stick with Thornhill, I think that I trust this Steelers coaching staff enough to make the right decision on that. And then another position that I could see the Pittsburgh Steelers adding before the start of the season is wide receiver. Now, I could also see them just sticking put with what they have. They really believe in Calvin Austin III. I believe he is a Darnell Mooney type of receiver, and Mooney is a legit number 2 receiver in this league. Rowan Wilson, of course, the Steelers have a high level of belief in him and are very excited about his future after taking him in round 3 last year. He's going to be more of your true slot receiver, but Jonnu Smith in your 13 personnel packages is going to be almost like your pseudo wide receiver 2 in those looks. He's going to get a lot of yards after the catch opportunities, a lot of screen opportunities. So I think the Steelers feel pretty good with where their wide receiver room is at, but they could certainly add somebody else if they want to. Some free agency options: Gabe Davis, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen are the 3 biggest names. Allen has said he's not the biggest fan of the city of Pittsburgh and probably wouldn't want to live here, so Allen's probably not super likely. I think if the Steelers wanted Amari Cooper, they probably would have already signed him. But Gabe Davis is the one that I think if the Steelers sign a receiver in free agency before the start of the season, it'll probably be him, because Davis obviously had that visit in Pittsburgh all those weeks back. Apparently he enjoyed his visit, had a good time. The Steelers might check back with Gabe Davis and see how his knee is holding up after having a pretty nasty knee injury in Jacksonville last year. But another possibility is they could trade for San Francisco 49ers wide receiver Juwan Jennings. I'm a big fan of Jennings' game. He's not the most physically impressive player in the world, but he is a very, very good run blocker, maybe the best run blocking receiver in the game today. And he almost had 1,000 yards as the number 1 receiver in San Francisco's offense last year. Really good route runner. He's tough after the catch, and he's got phenomenal hands as well. So if the Steelers can pull off a trade for him, I would be absolutely thrilled. And then you can take a look at some of the other wide receiver targets here. We already talked about Davis, Cooper, and Allen, but Romeo Doubs and Dontavian Wicks are some other options. I would say Adam Thielen, John Mechie, and Trey Palmer are some other receivers that they could potentially go out and get as well. So if they make a move, we're going to have you covered with breaking news coverage on this channel. We had breaking news coverage yesterday on the TJ Watt extension. We had breaking news coverage for you guys with the Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith trade when I was back in Minnesota on my vacation. If you guys want extensive Steelers breaking news coverage whenever it hits, wherever I am, click that subscribe button right now. And that'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. If you're a real one and you made it to the end of today's video, type real one in all caps down there in the comment section so that we can identify you and we can give you some love down there in the comment section. That'll be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by today. And until tomorrow, guys, here we go, Steelers.